and welcome to the first of 4 episodes. I don't even know, there's no name for the show, but we are going to be reviewing, I'm going to be reviewing the final 4 episodes of the Game of Thrones, the much ballyhooed, the record-setting series that has captured the hearts of the world for the past 9 years. So I figure as part of the JB's Driving Network, whatever you want to call it, and a way to get more people to listen to our podcast, I'm going to do a short 15-minute podcast each week for the final 4 episodes of Game of Thrones as we wrap it up. In this episode, we're going to be discussing the Battle of Winterfell, the big battle. So the past 7.5 seasons, we've been building to this huge battle with the Night King, who happens not to be in the books, the White Walkers, I guess they're called the others in the books, coming down from the north to invade Winterfell. I mean, we have been building since episode 1 for this. Since episode 1, we opened this series with the Rangers, the Night Watch, out in the north of the Wall, checking things out, and that's when they encounter the first White Walker. Big threat. Been dealing with this. Big threat. Jon Snow, first couple episodes, the bastard son, or supposed bastard son of Ned Stark, sent to Night Watch. His whole purpose here is to be dealing with the White Walkers, to be dealing with the Night King. We're not talking about rocket science here. His entire story, short of his lineage of being Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark's child, making him the king of the Seven Kingdoms, has revolved around the White Walkers and the Night King. Think about it. Going north of the Wall, dealing with the wildlings, meeting his love, who was eventually killed, meeting Tormund Giantsbane, leading the wildlings now down south, encountering the Night King with his band, along with Beric and the rest of the individuals. Tormund joined as well, but Jon Snow has been dealing with the White Walkers, and I make this point because it's important to the main gist of this short episode about the Game of Thrones and why I have a huge issue with it, a huge issue with it. The battle itself was good. I'll be honest with you. It was a good episode. It was a solid episode. Now, people complaining about the darkness in the background, apparently that issue has been fixed, as far as I know. But what was a big letdown for me with the episode was the actual story itself. I enjoyed the battle. I enjoyed the pacing. I did not enjoy the character portrayal. The episode before episode 2, a lot of people were complaining about because it was very slow. We were wrapping up loose ends with Jorah Mormont. We saw my man, the Onion King, along with Brienne and Tormund and Tyrion, and it was a beautiful episode with everybody gathering around the night before they thought they were going to die, and it was glorious storytelling. For anybody who's a writer, you know what I'm talking about. It was glorious story. Yes, it was slow. It was glorious storytelling. We saw Jaime Lannister knighting Brienne. I mean, come on, it was great. You're building up to a crescendo here, and their portrayal in the actual episode was an afterthought, a freaking afterthought. We saw bits and pieces of Jaime. We saw bits and pieces of Bran, some bits and pieces of Tormund, some Podrick, a little bit of Tyrion and Sansa in the crypts as they're cowering. For what reason, I don't know. It was disappointing in terms of their portrayal because you didn't really get to see. And it's not just about deaths. It's not just about deaths because Game of Thrones has built a legacy on deaths. It was about, Jaime came north to represent his house, to defend against the White Walkers for humanity. And you barely saw him during the battle. I felt they really shortchanged that cast of characters that we came to love. That was one of my biggest problems. I didn't like the tactics. All the tactics were stupid. I think that's been beaten like a dead horse in other YouTube and podcast. I'm not going to talk about that. Dothraki charge and whatever, everywhere, Melisandre. The big thing that I had an issue with, the big, huge thing that I had an issue was Arya killing the Night King. Arya killing the Night King made no sense at all. I know some of you SJWs out there, some of you individuals who thought you had a whole contingent, oh my God, he kicked the ass girl, Queen Arya. Bullshit. Bullshit. Jon Snow's entire arc has been to deal with the White Walkers, with the Night King. Let me play you episode from season 7, episode 3, when Jon and his friends go above the wall. There's a scene with Beric and Jon talking. Beric was the other individual who was resurrected. Let's remember, Jon was resurrected for a reason. For a reason. Let's hit that scene right now.
No. There's another. Kill him. He turned them all.
You don't understand.
The Lord brought you back, and he brought me back. No one else, just us. Did he do it to watch us freeze to death?
Careful, Beric. You lost your priest.
As you can see, the writers put this in for a reason. Beric's talking to Jon. Why do you think you're resurrected? This is after, let's go back up a little bit. Beric points out the Night King, saying, we need to kill the Night King to eliminate all the threat, the entire threat. Because they follow, they're raised because of him. Beric says, I was resurrected for a reason, and so were you, Jon. Not just to freeze to death, you were resurrected for a reason. We fast forward to the fight. Jon's messing with an ice dragon, Viserion. Meanwhile, Arya, who's had her own kills, her own story arc, not even in the freaking continent, over in the other continent, becoming a faceless man, killing Frey, having her list, her entire storyline, dealing with the arc of the list. But no, the writers have to give her the kill, even though this kill was meant for Jon Snow. It was meant for Jon Snow. Now, some of you might, this was writing at its best because it was a surprise. Queen Arya, go Queen, all that bullshit. Listen to this clip here that I'm about to play for you. This is from Beyond the Thrones of this past episode. Listen to this clip right here.
For, I think it's probably 3 years now or something, we've known that it was going to be Arya who delivers that fatal blow.
She seemed like the best candidate, provided we weren't thinking about her in that moment. One of the great things about having this many people you care about in a sequence together is that you can kind of pull people's attention and focus to people that they care about a lot, like Jon and like Dany, Theon and Bran, not to mention Tyrion and Sansa and the Crypt. So you're going all over the place with people who you're desperately worried for, and hopefully you forget about the fact that Arya Stark ran out of that castle with the battle drums playing and going towards some purpose, and we don't know what until it happens.
We hope to kind of avoid the expected, and Jon Snow has always been the hero, the one who's been the savior, but it just didn't seem right to us for this moment.
The writers, their whole purpose in having Arya kill the Night King, because it was not expected. That is shitty writing. If you are writing for shock value, that is shitty writing. When you're writing to have a character arc. For it to make sense. They're saying it would make too much sense to have Jon Snow kill. Well, no shit. His entire story has been revolving around the White Walkers. But all of a sudden, it makes too much sense to have him kill the Night King. Because they have to have their Me Too movement. That's what this is all about. The Me Too, it's a shock value, a Me Too movement. He's been the hero, blah, blah, blah. Well, Arya's been a hero as well. There's a lot of them have been heroes. A lot of them have been heroes for whatever reason. You want to talk about a strong female character, look at Bran. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. But no, we got to give the pint-sized midget the kill against the Night King because it's a surprise. Piss poor writing. Piss poor writing. I had a big issue with it. Is Jon Snow my favorite character? I don't. I enjoy the series, but the past couple seasons, the two writers have been just cashing it in. Don't matter. They've got other episodes. This is what happens. It happened in Nip Tuck. It happened in The Shield. Two other great series. If you haven't, you ought to check them out. They're both on FX. The writers at the end of the series, they say, "Well, we're just going to mail everything in. It doesn't matter." In this case, it ruined the story. I could be wrong. The last 3 episodes could have something in store, but the fact is, Jon Snow is resurrected for a reason, and the writers eviscerated that reason. Hopefully, George R.R. Martin has something else in store for the books itself, but this made no sense. The shock value sucked. Not happy with it. Plus, it was a very anticlimactic ending. Theon, minutes before, sacrifices himself. Arya's waiting in the shadows for him to sacrifice. Doesn't make sense. Anyway, looking forward to episode 4. I guess we're going to see what happens at King's Landing and the remnants of Dany's forces. Who knows? Anyway, hope you enjoyed the podcast. Make sure to listen to Paul and I on our regular show, JB's Driving Podcast, where we review movies, destroy them from the 90s, 80s, and 2000s. You enjoy this short episode, make sure to share. In the meantime, I will see you next week. I don't even know what the name of the show is, but we'll see you next week.